March 1945. A Soviet soldier crouches in the ruins of a Berlin apartment building, holding a standard-issue aluminum mess kit filled with roughly 400 grams of captured German TNT. Embedded in the explosive compound, about 150 grams of steel fragments, nails, screws, ball bearings, pieces of shattered machinery. A length of fuse cord protrudes from the mass, estimated to burn 6 to 8 seconds, based on the cord's markings and the soldier's training. He lights the fuse, waits 2 seconds to confirm ignition, and throws the assembly through a window opening into a ground-floor room where German soldiers have been heard moving equipment. The pot travels about 7 meters, enters the room. 5 seconds later, the TNT detonates. The aluminum mess kit disintegrates into roughly 30 irregular fragments, traveling around 1,200 meters per second. The embedded steel fragments reach velocities approaching 800 meters per second. The combined fragmentation effect fills the enclosed room with lethal projectiles. German resistance in that section of the building ceases. The improvised bomb cost nothing beyond materials already available. It was assembled in about 10 minutes by a soldier with no formal demolitions training, but who understood that explosives in metal containers produce fragments, and those fragments kill in enclosed spaces. Infantry advancing through urban terrain in 1944 and 1945 faced a close-quarters problem that conventional weapons didn't always solve. Grenades were effective, but often in short supply. Artillery couldn't always be used without destroying entire structures, sometimes tactically undesirable. Small arms fire couldn't guarantee room clearance before entry. What infantry needed was something throwable, capable of filling a room with fragments, built from whatever materials were on hand. Standard grenades met those requirements, but supply chains couldn't always keep pace with consumption. Improvised fragmentation bombs became field solutions when standard munitions ran short. The principle was simple. Any suitable metal container could serve as casing. Aluminum mess kits, cooking pots, food tins, canteens. Fill with explosive, press or pack metal fragments inside. Insert a fuse with a known burn rate. Throw. Detonate after delay. Explosion fragments container. Embedded shrapnel accelerates outward. TNT detonates at about 6,900 meters per second. The expanding gases act against everything in contact. A thin aluminum wall, about 1.5 millimeters thick, breaks into irregular pieces, 10 to 30 grams each, accelerated to roughly 1,000 to 1,400 meters per second. Steel fragments, denser, smaller, reach 7 to 900 meters per second, remain lethal to a significant distance in the open air. In enclosed spaces, the effect increases. Fragments cannot disperse. They strike walls, ricochet, multiply potential hits. A device detonated in a 4 by 4 meter room produces fragment density many times greater than in open terrain. This multiplication effect made improvised bombs especially effective in urban combat. Soviet forces in Berlin documented such use. German defenders reported cooking pots or mess equipment filled with explosives. American forces in Manila and Okinawa noted similar improvisation. Where grenades ran short, improvised devices filled the gap. Compared to standard grenades, differences were clear. The Soviet RGD-5 contained about 110 grams of TNT. The American MK2, 57 grams in a cast iron body. An improvised mess kit bomb with 400 grams of TNT and 150 grams of embedded fragments delivered far more explosive mass, but lacked predictable fragmentation. Fragments varied in size. Some are too large and slow. Some are too small to retain energy. Average lethality per device may have been lower despite higher explosive content. Unpredictable, but powerful. Risks to operators were substantial. Improvised fuses varied in burn rate. Misjudged timing caused premature detonations. Captured TNT varied in condition. Plastic explosive could be contaminated. Casings not designed for explosive containment sometimes failed early. Documented cases existence of accidental detonations, friendly casualties. Soldiers understood and continued because the alternative was entering defended rooms without preparation. Knowledge spread informally. One soldier teaching another. Demonstrations in field conditions. No manuals described this. Doctrine did not acknowledge it. It existed in the gap between planning and reality, a gap common in urban warfare. Post-war documentation comes mostly from unit histories, veteran accounts, captured enemy reports. Soviet archives mention the practice without technical detail. American archives similar. Exact numbers will never be known. Likely hundreds, possibly thousands, across multiple theaters in the final year of war. The Soviet soldier who threw a TNT-filled mess kit in March 1945 was part of a pattern that emerged wherever infantry fought in cities and supply fell short. The cooking pot became a fragmentation bomb. It served its improvised purpose. It killed in the enclosed space for which it was adapted. Whether ingenuity or desperation depends on perspective. What can be stated plainly is that it worked. It killed as intended. And it was built because the alternative was stepping through a doorway behind which armed men waited.